Hello guys, David Vose here. Still beautiful out here in paradise. Little windy again today. Maybe some weather's coming. I hope you're having a wonderful day, friends. Oh, man, we have every right to believe that we got some good days coming up, you know? And yeah, we're going to have some difficult times, but the Lord's going to get us through it all. And, in order to make sure that we are awake, we do have to remind ourselves not to just believe everything that they tell us, because when they're telling us these things that aren't true, it's because they're trying to deceive us. And that's part of the problem. We've got to make sure that we're not deceived, because they want you to believe in this because it's a bunch of propaganda that's been going on for a long time with movies and underground little religious cult beliefs, Star Trek, Star Wars movies, all this stuff. And they've convinced us that this is real. There's a galactic federation up there ruling over us. And part of this whole satanic religion that's going around, people used to think, oh, it's going to be the New Age. It takes over the world. Or it's going to be the Mormons. Or it's going to be the Moonies. No, it's the interdimensional beings that rule the world. And they fell. And there's a Nibiru and a galactic federation. Thor's on the council. I guess he's the top guy or whatever, and his buddy Inky, the scientist. And this has been promoted now by all of these Bavarians. So today I want to talk to you about your DNA. Remember, we'd done several videos talking about how the stars couldn't be what they say they are. They couldn't be that far away. And we talked about how we can look at the moon and see definition from supposedly 240,000 miles. And I can't see any definition on a mountain 40 miles in distance. I know there's atmosphere, but there's a lot of atmosphere between here and 240,000 miles to the moon as well. But I can see very good, clearly. People could take telescopes and look at the moon and see little craters and cracks and, all kinds of green man up there. So it couldn't really be that far, could it? But now, if they're lying to us about going to the moon and how distant the stars are and what they are, what about the inner world? What about your DNA? We've been hearing about all this DNA, and they're splicing it, and they're genetically modifying it. You got some on ice down here at the Kremlin on the corner of Beijing and Shanghai. Meet you there at noon. So yeah, did they lie about what's inside the universe, like the little atoms and DNA? Do they even know what DNA is? Well, today we're going to show you what DNA is, and we're going to be able to know that beyond a doubt. And we're going to find out that we don't have any pictures of DNA. We don't know if there is such a thing as DNA. That doesn't mean we don't exist. It just means that this whole fraud about they know all about your DNA and they can manipulate your mind and splice DNA and make monsters. And it's inevitable that you're going to have to become a cyborg, and they're going to mess with your mind some more. Because they're God. They're Thor. Mighty Thor! Come, Inky! Let's go, Tonto! Your sidekick. Anyway, I asked the Goggle Brothers a very important question, because, after all, if they claim to have some knowledge of DNA and they know what it is and they got the code and they're in there snipping right now, I would like to question it, just as people question the moon landing. And most people in the world probably don't even believe in the moon landing anymore because it's fake. And that's exactly what's going on with the DNA. So I asked the Goggle Brothers, can you see DNA in a microscope? And they were happy to reply. AI says, yes, you can see DNA with a microscope. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. But not in great detail. Oh, hold on now. Not in great detail. Okay. Maybe there's some qualifications here. They're not saying yay or nay, but they want to say yes. They want to say yes. But no, not in great detail. So let's go into this a little further. The ability to see DNA with a microscope depends on the type of microscope. Okay, but that's not my question. I didn't say, what kind of a microscope do you need? I said, can you see it with a microscope? And they go off into this tangent about it depends. Okay, it depends on the type of microscope. So what kind of microscope we need? Well, that wasn't the question I asked, but I think the reason they had to throw that in there is because it's not really even a microscope. It's some kind of made up simulation kind of microscope. In other words, yeah, with a microscope, nah. But with a pretend microscope that we simulate, we can show you anything you want, buddy. So we go a little further. It says types of microscopes. Well, the types that can see DNA are the kinds that are fake, but it says electron microscopes. What is an electron microscope? Okay, it sounds like a pretty legitimate thing there when you throw in that other word in there, like the microscope for electrons. Why, those must be pretty magnificent microscopes, because electrons are like, they don't exist. Remember, we were told that atoms don't exist unless you send them at 1,500 billion twinkle meters of light. That is so quick, it's like the flash of a Broadway hooker snatchy. Yeah, it's quick. So you got to have high energies of the electrons. Well, yeah, remember they told us, the same scientists, that you could throw these particles of atoms and, like neutron. I mean, the whole atom is supposed to be one thing, but it's made up of smaller things, and that's made up of smaller things, none of which we can see in a microscope. You have to have an electron microscope, which was a fake one, simulation. And they've already said they don't exist, so they're simulating something that doesn't exist, because particles thrown through a little crack in the wall at these great speeds, they don't exist unless you're imagining them. If you don't imagine them, they don't exist or something. You can't see them unless you look at them. If you're not looking, they're not there. Whatever that means. This is some story they told us, like the one where they told us they went to the moon, right? So atomic force microscopes can see details of DNA. Atomic force microscopes. What the fiddly diddly is that? I don't know. They don't know. But we're using these little letters put together in a sentence to try and deceive you. Can see details of DNA. They didn't even say that they can see the DNA with an atomic force microscope, just the details of a DNA, including the major and the minor grooves in the helix. Light microscopes can see chromosomes, which are large enough to be visible. But okay, let's go further here, because they claim a lot of stuff until you get down to the nitty gritty and the fine print. And that little guy's talking 1,000 miles an hour and you can't understand what he's saying, at the end of the commercial. And think about this, guys. Really just, you only got to think a little. You don't even have to really strain your brain or anything with this. Just think about it. Nonchalant, like, while you're drinking your coffee, watching this video, just take a little think. If they've never seen DNA, as we will prove by the end of this video, they have never seen it. They do not know what it looks like. But yet they know that on the strands of the DNA, there is some kind of a blueprint, right? It's a blueprint. And there's some people think it's written in Hebrew, right? By Yahweh himself. And it's got all the instructions of how to create your body. It's like a scroll that's twisted in a strand or a helix strand. And if you could get really big microscopic computers that could simulate it, they could probably invent what it even says in the little DNA. Of course, they know there's 11 strands. They've never seen it before. How would you count something so small? Like, I can look over that tree and I can say, well, there's 11 branches. I can't tell. I'm too far away and there's so many little branches. There's no way I could know. But I've never seen a tree before. Never. Right? Even if they could see a blurry, static one, you wouldn't be able to count the branches. But somehow or another, they have counted the branches and they know the spiralness of it. And they also have read it. How in the world have they never seen it? That they know the genetic code of, they're supposedly splicing them. They got little tweezers that are even smaller than the little microscopic computer, right? And they must have made a little baby robot, nano. That's what nanotechnology is. A little dinky robot with little fingers. So they can handle those itty bitty pinchers. And they go in there and they pull one of the little strands off, pull it up, and they got a little genetic DNA pen that they draw. In Hebrew, they write some code. Or, what are they doing? We've never seen anything about, what they might be doing. I mean, okay, well then how come are all these young scientists that just got out of graduate college in a lab genetically modifying DNA? Well, that's what they're told that they're doing. All they're doing is dropping chemicals onto some little squiggly thing on the microscope, which isn't the DNA, as we've just seen, and it starts going, and it wiggles, it's like, oh, acid, and then it breaks, and now we've modified the DNA by literally breaking the chain, and part of the little code that was the nose came off, and now it doesn't know how to make noses. Well, what if this is only speculation? I mean, they're imagining that when animals have sex and the cells divide, that the cells will reproduce and the babies look like the mommies, and they got this whole Darwin thing where we came up out of the slime as a polywog and grew legs, and then we got wings, and we ended up standing 6 feet tall, beating our chest like an orangutan, right? After we've shaved, because we had enough vanity, and we thought we had to shave that little puss and, paint eyebrows on, rip the ones we got off, shave them, and paint some better, more aligned eyebrows that are like expressing some emotion to try to pretend that we're all happy. But that is progress. And once the man got all the way through this sliminess, right, he evolved and popped some arms out. Wait a minute, what about the reptilians? Oh, well, they were the ones that got the monkey that evolved, but they couldn't just wait. Like, it's like, you can't wait for that. It's like waiting for fine wine. It takes forever. So you have to go down there at the last minute and take these monkeys. And with modern technology, well, I guess it wouldn't be modern technology because Inky did it. I don't know how many thousands of years ago they claim. He got down there with his little tweezers. He was a scientist on the Galactic Federation ship, Remember that series in the Star Trek movie? That was actually filmed on location. So just ask yourself, how in the world, if they've never seen DNA, how they could see the code on there? They're just speculating as to what this code might be. I don't think it exists in a storybook form or in a strand of DNA. I believe that it is memories and it is spirit. It's mind. Thought forms come from the power of mind. The forms are patterns and images based on what we believe. There's no physicality. It is spirit. Your spiritual being flies off and does not need this physical body. It inhabits the body. Now, why does the body look like its mother and its father? Because if you have several, you got all these elements to work with. Elements, how do we know they exist? Well, they're not that small, because elements or compounds of elements are much bigger than what they're claiming these atoms are. They're just speculating about that. But we do know about elements in the sense that that's water. We can touch it. They're claiming it's made up of all these water elements. And there's 100 and some odd elements in the elemental chart. And they only know of their visibility, they only know they're real because when you get a bunch of them in a cluster, it makes some kind of form, right? But they don't know where this manifesting form emanates from. If it's emanating from a little strand of DNA written on some scroll in code by Yahweh, then it would be real. It's material. It's a real wall. You hit your head against that sucker and boom, you're going to have a bruise. But that's not real. There is no walls. This is all in our mind. Therefore, the source of this is our mind and not a strand of DNA. So they can't possibly say they know the code and it's there if they haven't seen the DNA, just like the story we tell all the time, where they say that our galaxy has 4 bands or arms coming out in swirly motions. It's a swirly vortice. Now, I believe in vortices, and I don't doubt that something like that could be. I see a lot of stars up there. There could be whole stars swirling around in vortice patterns. I mean, we seem to be going around and around down here, too. But this is really all speculation. We don't know how it works in detail. And we can't, from this little speck of dust inside of what they claim is a 200,000 light year swirly thing, and this little speck of dust in the middle is surrounded by all these little pieces of dust. And we're supposed to, with our little telescope, look up into the sky, and through all of this mist, the 4 arms and the direction and how big it is and how wide. And it's like I always say, if you're in a forest, 100 miles by 100 miles by 100 miles, and you're one little person inside the forest in the middle, you can see the tree next to you. But like I said, you probably couldn't even figure out how many branches are on that tree unless you go count them, spend weeks trying to figure out how many branches, and by the time you're done, oh, there's another one just sprouted. So we wouldn't know how many we wouldn't care. And we could see maybe 15, 20 trees around us. Beyond that, we ain't going to bother ourselves counting them. But it would take us a month of Sundays and throw in about another millennial for us to count all the trees in a forest that we'd have to walk to each one. But we could do that if it was only 100 miles. But how about if it's 1,000 light years? We don't have a camera. Let's say you couldn't move from the spot that you are in the middle of this 100-mile forest. You couldn't move. You're not allowed to move. How can you take pictures of the trees 100 miles distance through the forest? And how would you know what kind of trees are out there 100 miles away? Unless you go there. So the only way you could know that the galaxy had 4 arms and it was spiraling is if we got outside the galaxy and looked back. Same reason we don't know what shape the Earth is, because we've never gotten up real high and looked back. They've never shown us any pictures. So we wouldn't really know for sure. Now, when I look at the moon, I see it very apparently looks round. I wouldn't doubt maybe the Earth is round. I don't, it looks like the motions and the sun going up and going down and all this stuff. It looks, like that's a theory, right? But we don't know the exact, the whole model. We haven't got a grasp on all this. And we don't need to, because it's mind. We're only what we believe. And all of this materialism and this worship of the beast is ridiculous. Other ways to see DNA. DNA microscopy. Use customized DNA sequences to tag DNA and RNA in molecules in cells. I don't know what they just said there. Karyotype, a technique that looks at the full set of chromosomes in a cell. And cytogenetic, a branch of genetics that looks at how chromosomes affect cell behavior. What does any of this have to do with it? What are you talking about? A DNA microscopy. Okay, is that the same as a microscopy? What is it? We don't know. Okay, but I'm going to get to the bottom of this here in a minute. The DNA size, only 2 nanometers wide. Oh, they had to make up a new word for how small it. They couldn't say a meter or half a meter or a centimeter. but it's a nanometer. This makes it difficult to see DNA with a typical microscope. Okay, but can you or not? Well, it's difficult. It's difficult. And we can't say, it depends on what kind of microscope. Okay, well, you just said that you can't see it with a microscope and you need some kind of a crazy fake microscope. But now you're saying, yeah, you can, but it's difficult. Oh, man. So there's a picture right there. You see that? Why is it black and white? Why does it look like it could just be somebody splashed some paint against I don't know what is digitally created or what is it. The width of the DNA helix is about 0.01 micrometers. Since DNA is so small, it's impossible to see it with a light microscope. Wait a minute now. Oh, man, my head's spinning. So now it's impossible to see it with a microscope, a light microscope. They're trying to throw you there. That just means an actual microscope. So now they're saying it's impossible. But wasn't it right up here where it says it was just difficult? But now it's impossible. Well, we got to go a little further on this one because I don't think, this doesn't even make no sense. Let's go here to the Reddit. Those guys seem to know more than real people. As far as I know, a lot of visualization are often just that, visualizations. So I sometimes ask myself if the classical image of a DNA helix is just another visualization or it actually looks this way. If I look really closely, deep down, with a microscope into a plant cell as an example, will I actually see a lot of DNA helixes swimming around? Or will it look different entirely? A lot of things in science are simplified to be approachable for the wide masses, which ends up being pretty much lies anyway. Lies for children. Is this also the case with the classical depiction of the DNA helix? Or is it different? So what does DNA actually look like? Yeah, you got pictures of it. Show us, man. Don't talk about it. It says you can see individual strand with an electron microscope, but not very well. So now you can't even, now it's difficult even with electron microscope. Not even very well. And this first actual picture of a single strand was taken about 15 years ago, something like that. The structure was known to be helical because of techniques like X-ray crystallography, which also allows indirect observation of the structure. Indirect. This is not any kind of science or concept I've ever heard about when you see things indirectly. Like, I don't even know if we need like a whole book to explain what that means. But we could go on with this nonsense, but I don't think any of these guys are even scientists. This is people on a Reddit page. Go down here. I wrote, I asked, do we have actual pictures of DNA? And it says earlier this year, a team of scientists in London also produced, well, what about, 50 years ago when Einstein was talking about DNA? They didn't have any pictures then? We just got one? Well, we just got a picture now. Okay. And it's produced an image of the DNA double helix using atomic force microscopy, a technique. Okay, whatever. This next one's what I wanted to show you because we're going to look at the actual picture. Scientists have captured the highest resolution image ever taken of DNA, revealing previously unseen. So in other words, they're admitting they never saw it before this time. Okay, but now they've seen it. But they had to use a fake simulation to see it, of course. Twisting and squirming behaviors. Take a look at that little link. Oh, my Lord, have mercy. There it is. Oh, wow. It's like a worm. It's like, it's doing a little dance. And it's like golden. Oh, it's golden. Maybe it's Corona. Oh, I love that little guy. Oh, what is it? Notice it's all black in the background, right? What kind of how do you take a picture of something that wiggles and squirms like a digital picture and sometimes does a figure 8, but the background is solid black? Why didn't they just show it the real picture? They had to black that out because there was probably a bunch of demons in there they didn't want you to see. But anyway, it says scientists have captured the highest resolution images ever taken of DNA, revealing previously unseen twisting and squirming behaviors. deoxyribonucleic acid. Now, take a little look at that word, deoxyribonucleic acid. Now, to show you and to prove to you guys that they know, or at least somebody knows. I don't think the doofuses with the little white robes on at the doctor's office know anything, or any of the scientists or anything. But whoever's implanting our world with this satanic, evil, wicked nonsense, which is Satan and his minions, his devils, probably nobody even on this earth knows anything what's really going on. They're all duped. But we can prove that whoever's doing this, Satan, Yahweh, must be some real mind, right? Somewhere there is somebody doing this, because they had to have written that word to describe whatever it is they're trying to describe, which is not there. But they, by using that word, we know that they knew it's not there. They know there's no code in there. There's no DNA. They know it because they named it that. That's what they do with your doctor prescriptions. They put it in Greek so you can't read it. What that says is the Lord God, the nucleus of the Lord God. Oh, Deox is Dia, that's the divine being. And the Ribo is rabbi or master or the Lord. And the nucleic is the center. So it is the center of your being where the Lord deity resides. They must know that. They're lying to you right straight up. They know the Bible's true, but they want you to doubt the Bible and believe their lie. But they are not allowed to lie without telling us somewhere. You have to be smart enough to listen to the disclaimer. They're going to tell you the truth somewhere. You just have to believe the truth and not follow the lie. Wow. Yeah. Well, let me read some more of this to you. Okay, hold on to your hats now. And hold your horses, and don't forget to leave the light on. And she'll be coming around a mountain when she comes. My favorite is Jimmy Cracked Corn. And I don't care. This is just some kind of a little gimmick or a slogan, right, to throw you off. You got to throw the dog off the scent. They want you to sit there and try to work out the slogan, right? You're probably all thinking about Motel 6 now, right? Well, and it's going to detour you. They got all this nonsense. They tell you right straight out. They don't have a picture of DNA. But you're reading, when they say we don't have a picture, but we have a simulation, you're reading, oh, we never use simulations. Everything we say is the truth, and we are God. Now listen to us and get down on your knees. That's all we hear. And we're like, yes, Massa, please tell me how low and degraded you want me to go, and I'll exceed that 1.5 miles until I get my retirement check when I'm all done with this crap. But let's read on. Otherwise known as DNA, can be surprisingly active when crammed and contorted inside a cell, according to a new research published in Nature Communications. These hidden movements were revealed by computer simulations fed with the highest resolution images ever taken of a single molecule of DNA. This is the best one they ever got, man, with the simulation. The new study is exposing previously unseen behaviors, but now we've seen it with the simulation. We're just using these weird words to try and throw you. Of the self-replicating molecule, and this research could eventually lead to the development of powerful new genetic therapies. Now remember, if this is a simulation, then it does not exist. If it doesn't exist, then they admit they never saw one before they made the one that doesn't exist up. Then they've just told you that they've been lying to you. And you got all these, and then you say, well, why would they be doing that? Why would they be lying about the DNA? Because they want you to think that they're so smart that they can change the DNA and make a COVID, yeah, and spoil all your fun for the whole summer and the next year and the next year, and then act like it didn't even happen, right? You got to wear the little mask, go into the Walmart and say, excuse me, can I have one of those free masks? I'd just love to have one of those. And then I will be able to walk through your little premises here and buy my groceries. And we'll just act like everybody's just fine with this. But that was based on this scam of, yeah, we went to the moon. That didn't happen. But the bigger scam is, yeah, you got DNA and we can mess with it because we're so smart. And we'll make up a story where somewhere in the distant past there was a god named Inky. And he messed around with that DNA, made it, pulled out some strands and brought you down to about 11 strands. Probably supposed to have 12, see? That would have been, oh, what an amazing idea. Well, who gave us that idea? Oh, one of those barbarian Sforzies, right? Was it Mr. Snitchin and his brother Van Doniken and their uncle Velenkowski? And they put it on their friend's show, George Norrie. They did a little dance and talked about the abductions. And then they took the simulated microscopy, and there you go. And now we know, see? So this was all created because they wanted to make up this story about a galactic federation ruled over by the reptilians, that David Icke would be the great prophet, and he'd come along and talk about the reptilians, and everybody go, oh, gasp. Oh, they couldn't be. No, not possible. And then, of course, we proved it. Old David Icke was proven correctly when Miss Ilan Dinan came along and said, yes, I was actually taken aboard their ship, and I met the great Thor, and I married him. And he's very good friends with this old Inky boy. And yeah, they told me all about the 11 strands, you poor little wretches. And guess what? They're coming, and they're going to give us a little in the arm. And this is the turning point in history, because Jesus, you see, actually wasn't even true. But Inky, yeah, he's the one who created this and made the little strands of DNA. And each strand is from a different tribe, right, in the zodiac. And they created this world with these little strands of DNA or genetic information where they can basically control you and talk to you. That's what your little subconscious mind is, when you're like that little conscience thing. It says, oh no, I should do right. That's probably some crazy scientist on Nibiru talking to you through your DNA. Friends, this is it. They're coming. That's why the ships came up out of the sea. They're coming, man. And they live under the sea. Right? You ever heard of the story of the mermaids? A lot of these stories are true, man. They're just telling you the truth. And it ain't even symbolic, man. I know, they live down in there. It's like a little cartoon world. Right? And they're little shapes. There's not even no dimensions or 3D or anything like that. They're little cartoon shapes, and they're running around. You can't see them with a naked eye, but they're down there. But boy, when they come up out of the water, boy, they got motherships swirling around faster than a speeding bullet. Man, we got to get down and worship them and stop believing in the Jesus thing, because we're going to be saved in Inky's blood. And that's, of course, why they started this whole hoax about going to the moon. They had to go in there. The Roswell incident, yeah, and Eisenhower, he met with them, and industrial complex. They took it over, and he gave them the keys and went down in the basement, and his wife was down there having sex with an alien. It's like, oh, I can't take it. Okay, take me to your leader. And this is what we got. We signed over the Constitution and our Bill of Rights, and every birth certificate was then printed up on indelible golden ink and sent directly to the great mothership of the reptilian Draco Federation. I'm telling you guys, this is true. In their minds, it's a simulation. When they say this is real, maybe, like if you had a really good telescope that was fake, well, this story is real too, if you really have a stupid brain and you're willing to accept stupidity. So the whole thing was orchestrated since World War II to get because the Nazis won the war. We signed a unilateral surrender to the Nazis. And they couldn't just tell us, yeah, we just took you over. So underground, they brought them over on Project Paperclip, invented the moon landing thing, and they invented the DNA thing and the relativity. They brought out their big guy, the big guns, Einstein, right? Einstein took over the Department of Science, and the Epstein took over the Department of the Hanky-Panky. And boy, when they came together in about 2008, 18, whoo, the whole world was a buzz, right? And this was so top secret, we had to keep our top scientist, Mr. Epstein, in a jail cell secured by guards that, for some reason, went to sleep while he pretended to hang himself. And we needed enough time, of course, to get him through the hallways down through the back door into the helicopter back to the Epstein Island. And there's a little hole that goes down underground. And down there is a great big civilization, like paradise on earth, that us little grunts don't know about. But they're down there right now drinking martinis. And JFK's down there and Hitler's down there. I know he'd be dead by now. But they got a lot of technology. They can keep him alive. Yeah, I know most of you are out there. Come on, Dave. That could never happen. Right? People don't lie. People don't manipulate our lives. Why would we believe that people who are secretly elected to our government, who are spending $1 billion, trillion, $1 billion every billion, trillion minutes, and who go to secret societies and we're not allowed, and they get secret handshakes, and they're worth like billions, which, we don't even know what the concept of $1 billion is. Most of us, if we had $1 million, would never want for anything else in our life. And so we don't get to go to the balls, we're like Cinderella. We don't got a dress and, lost our slipper. So we go back home and we're just making some kind of dream in our little mind about what might be. But we dang sure know that whoever runs this world couldn't possibly be evil, couldn't possibly be scheming behind the scenes. And the whole proposition, David, is quite bizarre. You think what, the government's going to use the CIA, or like you're going to make a thing called the CIA? That what you think? And this group that they're going to make, they're never going to tell us what they do. It's going to be secret, and they will be like doing mind control things on the people. Absolutely not, Dave. That's ridiculous. That could never happen. There's no freaking way. Oh, by the way, Lockheed works and sends their technology to China. There are people that are in China that own part of Lockheed. It is an international, global company. It's not just for working for us. The Chinese have all the secrets because it's not governments. It's these billionaire family organizations, these trusts. And it's these little round tables that they make, WEF and all of this kind of thing. Anyway, as you know, Hitler died in 1945. And a year and 2 months later, in 1946, Trump was born. Yeah. Go figure that. Now, if we go on here, it says that seeing is believing, but with something as small as DNA, seeing the helical structure of the entire DNA molecule is extremely challenging. Alice Pine, the first author of the paper and a material scientist at the University of Sheffield, said in a statement from the university, the videos we have developed enable us to observe DNA twisting in a level of detail that has never been seen before. All that time that we were telling you we saw DNA, we knew what it looked like, and it was helical strands and all. We wouldn't have known that because we've never seen one, right? Never before, but now we have, right? But it was extremely challenging. We had to create a fake microscope. So, yeah, it's like a bunch of worms in a can is what it is, with some, dark space behind it. Scientists have previously used microscopes to gaze upon DNA and its twisted ladder-like configuration, but these were limited to static views of the molecule. What scientists haven't been able to see is how the intense coiling of DNA affects its double helical structure. Well, how did you know it had a double helical structure before you had ever seen it? You theorized about it. You got some artists and they drew up some speculative drawings, and then you got the best minds together and you threw some dice and then you said, that's probably what it looks like based on the way this thing that we don't know if exists reacts with other things that we've just made up. But her colleagues combined high-resolution atomic force microscopy, AFM. They got a 3-letter word for that. Everything they put in 3 letters, like CIA, FBI, all this NHS or whatever, it's all some kind of a plot to kill us. With molecular dynamics computer simulations which revealed the wreathing. Did you see that? With molecular, so they combined high-resolution atomic force microscopy with molecular dynamics computer simulations, which revealed the wreathing. So the simulation revealed what must be there, even though we've never seen it or we have no proof of it. But we saw a simulation and bam, that was all we needed. And now we can come out publicly and tell you for the first time we've been lying all this time, but now we're not lying. Now we got a fake picture of it, and that proves it. Long, highly organized strands of DNA are crammed tightly inside our cells. They're just crammed in there, right? I don't think so. As the new study shows, this results in some surprisingly dynamic physical behaviors. Well, it certainly does, Hardy. And this is another fine mess you've gotten us into. Wow, look at that beautiful thing. See? Doesn't that look real? Not. It's an atomic force microscopy image. Agnes Noy, a lecturer at the University of York. Mom, what an idiot that would lecture on something that was made with a simulation. These guys have got to either be ignorant fools or they're the dumbest people I've ever heard in my life. And guess who's just about as dumb, but not quite, because you can't blame them because they didn't start the lie. That's the American people and the people at large in the world that believe this crap. But she's this great lecturer, right? She talks about things that somebody else told her is true. And she's a co-author of the study, said the microscopy images and the computer simulations agreed. Oh man, what we pretended was true and what we thought might be true, it all agrees. So therefore, it agrees so well that they boosted the resolution of their experiments, allowing the team to track how each atom or simulation of an atom of the double helix of DNA dances. Now we've got a simulation and an idea how this thing that we have no idea if it exists, how it dances. And we can simulate that, and we can tell you, because we've simulated it and used certain crazy words, we can actually state in an article here or a scientific magazine, we can officially say, it's never been seen before, and it ain't been seen now, and there you go. Curtains closed. Yay! Standing ovation. Oh, oh, ah! The laugh track in the background. You've got to see this movie. And the ending is so amazing because in the end, they tell you it was all a big lie. Oh, it's so disturbing. And it's a thriller from Manila. We don't know who's going to win. It looks like George Foreman's got him down in the corner, beating the crap out of him. And boom, 12th round, bam! Muhammad Ali smacks him out of nowhere. And he goes falling down to the canvas. And he's trying to get back up. And he's got 10 seconds, but they only give him 6. And they're like, that's it, Muhammad Ali won. Man, he's the greatest man in all the world. Oh, man, a Muslim. Why are we promoting this when with one hand? And then with the other hand, we're saying, oh, we've got to go and murder them all. We need a greater Israel because Trump's going to make Israel go all the way to Iran, Syria, Jordan. What's weird is like we own all that anyway. But they're going to take Egypt? Oh, man, I guess Egypt's been controlled by the elites for a long time, and we didn't know it. So the greater Israel is coming, along with the greater DNA, which is, Inky's coming back, and the reptilians, and they're going to land on this earth with this big ship. Friends, this is all scientifically simulated. Why can't you get this through your head? It's true if you will believe. It's like the Bible. You got to have faith for that. Well, why don't you believe in the scientists? Oh, I guess you already do. You won't believe in Jesus. That's too much. That crosses the line, Dave. We got to believe in some, some man that loves us. Oh, man, there's got to be some divine mind. The universe has got to be conscious, and there's a purpose, and we're going to live forever, and it's happy, and it's wonderful. We can't believe in that. What we believe in is just all was nothing. It was nothing for eternity, because there was no eternity, because there was nothing, remember? And then, boom! Man, that was a loud boom. You didn't hear it because it would blow your ears. Yeah, it was a loud boom, probably a lot louder than that one. It was probably like several decimals higher. And it's like, boom, right? It's funny. I always thought, why would you describe the universe being made by a boom? Why wouldn't you describe the universe being created by things like, why do we got to say that everything began with an explosion? Like, you know, they can't even say explosion. They got to say a bang, right? It happened with a bang. You always get started with a bang, don't you? But a bang, okay, so that means that something existed to bang. Something blew up. Sounds to me like that wasn't the beginning of all things. That was the end of all things. Because when you get blown up, usually you die. So it makes no sense that they say, well, in the beginning, everything that was just blew up. Okay, that explains everything. So what's going on now? Well, we're all dead. But long time ago, before the universe existed in this chaotic form of being blown to smithereens, it was wonderful. But we can simulate that for you if you'd like. But we ain't got that far. We're still trying to get you guys to believe in the reptilians and the aliens that are coming. Oh, man, I don't even know if I want to, even read more of this. This is ridiculous, the stuff that they're saying. They're lying. So what? So they're lying. Doesn't that blow your mind? That anyone would say, so what? Because I saw the movie The Truman Show. Oh, yeah. Or what was that? The black thing. It was like this. I hadn't watched, what is that, Netflix thing? I was at my daughter's house and she made me watch a show and it was like the black something. And it's kind of like the Truman Show, but it's freakier. But they're in a simulation or something, and they bust out or whatever. But it's kind of like a digital Truman Show. And then there was another one. There's several of these on the Netflix where they have to keep coming back in these weird lives or something, and they're hunted down and murdered until they finally realize they don't have to be or something. I don't know. Well, I don't remember it because I didn't watch much of it. But not only is that horrid to think, but it's crazy to think. And if somebody told me that and I didn't know it beforehand, I'd probably blow a fuse. I mean, I don't know. That'd be hard to handle. I've been letting a little of this truth in, little by little, because it's hard to do it all at once. It's like, bam, right in the face, This isn't real. You're not even here. We don't know what's going on. You can't even trust your own family. You can't trust your government. You darn sure can't trust your church. Every time you find out something else is a lie, each and every time, it's like we have to go through the whole thing all over again. And there's no way. It's not until others will believe the theory or the conspiracy that you will allow your mind to even think about it. Once it reaches like 10% saturation, then the strong ones will open one ear. But each time it's like another prophet that comes, like Paul Revere comes riding into your little New England continental home, Monticello, shall we say, and says, I'm an angel, and he takes one glove off of the hand, a white glove, and you're like, oh, their hands aren't white, it's just a glove, and then you go, touche, touche, and slap Jefferson right in the face. But he couldn't wake him up. They still, and all of us cannot be awoken until it is time. And we will save no lives until it is time. But at some point we're going to wake up. Some people are going to wake up. And we're going to start realizing that if that's wrong, then what's the truth? And we're going to find out that we're the truth. We're the mind. We're the divine. This is our world. It's our own mind. We have to calm down. You know, without faith, it's impossible to please the higher divine essence, because it requires that you use it with your faith. That's how you make it work. It's like, you know, how do you make your muscles move? Well, it's kind of hard to explain. We don't really know. And I'm not going to cut it up into little pieces and examine it and try and figure out why or how, because I don't care. But I do know that the world is love. And these individuals on the earth right now are lying to us. And there's a reason. They've been building this lie up, this galactic federation that's about to take over or whatever. Some AI. Probably that's more like what it'll be. The galactic federation will be like an underground cult belief, but the majority of people will at least believe in the AI and they'll worship it. So we've got to realize that we're being lied to, so we can wake up, friends, and we need to let everybody know that we can. The more voices, you know, we reach a saturation point, and then we got it. But I have it on good authority. There will only be 144,000 who will awaken at this time. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening. May the divine mind give you peace and give you happiness and joy. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one, guys.